My name is Mary, and I've been retired for 19 years. Recently, I started checking out solar panels to see whether it was something I wanted to do or not wanted to do.
So much for coming in today, because this is a question that we get asked sometimes about solar, and something I've certainly looked into. Like a lot of people, especially in Colorado, where we have all the tax incentives, and we get calls from solar companies, and
Well, we have the sunshine.
we get the sunshine. There's lots of reasons to do solar. So we just love for you to share your journey and talk about your experience. What prompted you to look into getting solar in the first place?
Well, a couple of years ago, my daughter, she lives in Severance, they got solar panels. It made a lot of sense for them because, naturally they're younger and they have a longer time that they feel they're going to stay in this house that they're in. So that kind of piqued my interest, and I kept thinking, is this something I really want to do? I'm 74, but people are living longer, so that was kind of one thought. Hopefully, some of the other stuff is I like to kind of like research. So there was an article, and on the article it was describing how a lot of the energy providers like Excel, they're moving towards environmentally options like wind and solar and that kind of thing. Well, in order to do that, they're going to need to increase their costs as a transition. So, okay, that kind of hit something with me. Also, the federal tax credit right now. One article I read mentioned that who knows, when the expiration comes up, whether that will be renewed or not. So it's like now's the opportune time for it.
So how long did it take you? So you're a very thorough researcher. I know that about you. Was it a week? Was it several weeks? Was it several months?
Gosh, yeah, it was at least 6 months from the time I started looking into it till it was all done and ready to turn on. This was a big investment, and I didn't want to just jump into it without, checking all my P's and Q's kind of thing.
So I know from talking to Aubrey that there's the materials like the solar panels and all that. And then there's the cost of installation. Do you have an idea of how much the materials cost, that like the panels themselves?
Yeah. It looked like the materials were probably about $8,700, somewhere, around there.
Okay.
And then the labor for the install, permit fees, stuff like that, was over 16. Okay. And then there was like a couple hundred for the design and the engineering that was needed. Okay. So then, because I paid in full, if you took away the cash discount, that came up with $18,986
for the parts and the installation.
Right.
Talked about the incentive. So there's both federal and state incentives that you take advantage of.
I looked. I couldn't find anything on the state.
Okay.
But the federal is offering 30% of the total cost as a credit on your taxes. Okay. And as you know, I'm in a tax bracket. I don't have any deductions. I really don't have anything to offset what I pay in my taxes. Yeah. So I thought, well, okay, this would help, because then part of the cost of doing this will have, offset my taxes. Okay. Those
tax incentives, did they influence your decision? What role did those play?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think it was a factor. One of the initial numbers was 5804 as the credit, but it's actually a little bit higher than that. Okay. After they adjusted some stuff.
Yeah, that's significant.
Right.
So Mary, when you were going through this process, how many solar installation companies did you talk to?
I went with 3 because when I started searching, there's like 1 billion companies out there. I did go with Namaste, which is in Boulder. What made me shift over to Namaste is that they're local. They had a really, really good reputation. And the friend of mine that told me about them, his son-in-law's in solar, and they both said, you know, this is a really good company. And then the other thing was that when I was talking with a sales guy, he said, well, if I went with them, he would give a discount off his estimates, which was a pretty decent discount. And that wasn't reflected in these numbers.
How long do you expect the panels to last?
I looked back through my paperwork, and labor, material, you know, they kind of break out, like the microinverter and the panels themselves and stuff, have a 25-year warranty. And to be honest, I don't recall. I'm pretty sure they're supposed to last longer than that, but I don't remember, you know, what.
But you have to worry about hail, right? So they hail resistant.
That was a concern. But as I talked to people, well, in fact, like my daughter, after their panels were installed, there was a hailstorm. The roofers were able to work around that.
How long have you had the panels this far?
It was like the end of June or July. From the time of signing the contract to the time that you were able to turn it on, it was roughly 3 months. First the order, and then the people coming out, and then the permits. The permits were a big part. You had to coordinate with Excel and some of the stuff. So, you know, but they handled it really well, and it went pretty smooth.
I think that's an important point, though, because one thing that you shared with us was that everything was completed, and you believed that you had turned it on. Well, I wouldn't have even known you needed to turn them on.
Oh, yeah, you do.
Assumed.
And in fact, you cannot turn it on until I think it's Excel gives either Excel or the city of Windsor gives the final approval at it.
Oh, I see. You discovered at some point you turned it on.
Right, and that was my fault because when they came, like one of their preliminary visits, they talked me through all the things, and they actually gave me written instructions. But did I look at that? No. Figured it out when my utility bill came, and there wasn't any.
Okay, so finally you got turned on, and then what was the impact on your electric bill?
Okay, so my August bill, this is just the electricity, was $107.45. Okay. But then, you know, we had record heat this summer, and it's longer. Then September rolled around, and the electric was $32.42.
And that was with the solar panel?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
But yeah, there's a significant difference. And Namaste, the guy that was like he followed the process to make sure everything went okay. He told me that you can option whether you want a rollover, carryover. So he guided me on all that stuff. So if my panels produce more than I use, I still keep that. Okay. It's like in a credit bank, and it'll roll over to the next year.
So it's occurring to me, I'm just connecting the dots, because you said one of the factors was that you read that as Excel transitions to more renewable energy, that the cost to the consumer is going to be more. Yes. And so that was a kind of a light bulb moment for you, because you thought, wait a minute, if electricity prices are going up,
right,
then the payback period for solar could be shorter.
Well, and plus I had bought an electric car. You know, I was really interested in the EVs. I bought that, and that was one more thing. I thought, well, you know, I plug it in when I need to charge it, so the solar will help that.
In the bidding process, they kind of go over, this is your break-even point?
Yeah. When I look back over the paperwork, I believe the break-even is like 11 years on mine. What they do is they come out, they look at your home and whether there's obstructions for anything, and then they, based on the square footage, and that's how they determine how many panels kind of model, because they didn't want you having more than you need.
The company did have loans for the transition if you wanted them.
Yes. Well, all the three companies did. They offered sources of people that would finance it. I just decided I won't go that way this time. And one of the things was the RMD, because I thought, I'm having to take this money out, maybe just apply that towards it.
If somebody else is considering going through this same process, what advice would you offer?
Research, because every person's home, they're individual, and you have to look at the home itself, their financial circumstances. Are they going to benefit from this or not benefit from this? So yeah, it's a big investment. Definitely look into all the ins and outs before you make a big decision like that.
Yeah. And you alluded to some of your values when you were talking this through. And can you just talk a little bit more about that?
Oh, as far as like environmental? Yeah. I think overall that individuals are going to make the most impact on whether we change the climate or whether we make things better for everybody. Because if you look at our leaders, it's, they're just fighting with each other. And they're not being leaders, I don't think. And so it's up to each of us to take whatever steps we can and are feasible, because it's not going to impact me. So, I personally won't get a full benefit if we really do change things, but my kids will, and my grandkids, and all the subsequent generations, because we're going to be gone, and all this is falling on them.
Thank you again. Thank you, Mary, for joining us today and sharing your experience with getting solar panels installed. If you watching want to know how we can help you align your money with your values, please reach out.